Quite frankly, I've been traveling globally, learning from different leaders who have served, those who are serving, and learning from people like you. Because at the end of the day, it is about you. You can't lead without knowing what the people want. Because you're not doing it for yourself. So you must listen to them. So a leader must listen to people. You must learn always. If you stop learning and listening, you shouldn't lead. You're dangerous. I'm Peter Obi, and you're watching North TV.
Please join me to welcome Mr. Obi to the stage.
So where do I go?
Thank you so much for coming all the way to Philadelphia.
Thank you.
Yeah? Well, we've already been chatting today, so I'm going to drive straight into it because you said I shouldn't shy away from the hard questions.
Yes.
All right. So you have said, because I've been listening, that the most important lesson for a leader is to listen and learn. So we're curious to know, what are you listening to right now, and what are you learning?
Interesting. Well, I think I remain on that trajectory. A leader must learn from those he's serving, those working for him, and understand the need of the society. What am I learning now? Quite frankly, I've been traveling globally, learning from different leaders who have served, those who are serving, and learning from people like you. Because at the end of the day, it is about you. You can't lead without knowing what the people want. Because you're not doing it for yourself. So you must listen to them. I gave an example yesterday of how I was able to clear pension and gratuity when I was governor. I used to go to church in the morning, every day. And I was in a church, and an 80-year-old woman came in and said I should leave the church. And everybody was like, oh, maybe something is wrong with this woman. I said, no, let me listen to her. She says she's being owed gratuity and pension, and that God will not listen to my prayers unless she's paid. So I followed her to her house. And after that, I decided I must clear this debt. And you must have heard my famous language about how I stopped crime in a place in Anambra State. It's a place we call Apiweka. You know, we have pickpockets there and everything. And I went there as the governor. And there was a madman there. He kept insisting he would talk to me. And everybody said, but the man is mad. I said, let's listen to him. And he told me, he said, the people who come to steal comes from here. See these barracks? You either remove this military barracks from here, or they won't stop. Because they go in there and out. He was a madman. But he stays there every day. So he has the local knowledge of what was happening there without the people knowing, because they took him that, okay, it's not part of their problem, it's not up there, but he observes what is happening there. So a leader must listen to people. You must learn always. If you stop learning and listening, you shouldn't lead. You're dangerous.
That's a very good point. Listening. Listening to what's around, but also listening to yourself. Something we spend a lot of time at Wharton developing, specifically in the NVA program, is focusing on mission and calling. And really understanding and transitioning from a career-focused life to kind of listening to yourself and going for a mission-focused life. So I'm curious to hear for you, what is your mission and what is your calling and how did it come about?
Well, that's a tough one. Well, if I look at my past, if you look at a bit of my past, I was born in a business family, a trader, basically. If you live in a town where I live on a child, the only thing you do there is trading. Mm-hmm. My father was a trader, my mother was a trader. So the only thing I knew about is trading. They insisted I must go to school, but I was more interested in what they were doing. So I grew up, of course, became a trader, got involved in business, like every other young person that grew up in Onitsha. But as I get on in life, I find that there's more in terms of giving back to the society and contributing in building a better society. Even when, of course, you're trying to make money, but there's more in trying to support a better society, doing things that works for everybody. And of course, as I get on in life, I happened to do a program here in the United States in 2001 that changed that trajectory from my being focused on business, banking, and everything to public life. Because I found that there's need for us to, just like I was telling you, that all these folks here should come and take over Africa.
Yeah.
You know, because that Africa needs their talent in the energy. I found out that I can do better than those who were serving at that time. And I got involved in politics. And my politics today, just take it as a, I'm still trying to mobilize the young, dynamic people who have all it takes to build a better country, especially in Nigeria.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to maybe make it still a little bit tougher. There's a story from 2001 where you're with your professor along the lake, and I would love for you to share the story with the audience.
You know, in my business life and living a life as a young man, I started wondering, you know, I lived in the UK for 10 years. And I see things going well in the UK and things not going well in Nigeria. Out of curiosity, I said, maybe I wasn't as lucky as Ibrahim. Maybe these people have something, or maybe there's something in these people that is not in those of us in Nigeria. So I decided I'm going to go to most business school. You just read a few of them today. I went to London School of Economics, Harvard, Columbia, Kellogg, Oxford, Cambridge, INSEAD.
Everything but Wharton, apparently.
You know. In fact, people asked me, said, you are an alumnus of Oxford, Cambridge, what? I said, I was just looking, maybe there must be something that, and I went to all these schools. I didn't. But in 2001, I was in Kellogg. Everybody who have been to Kellogg knows that they have a famous dean of graduate school called Professor Donald Jacob. Yeah. He was almost like he's the founder. So in 2001, I had a 3-month course seminar. He took us on what he called the world economy. For 3 months, he never mentioned anything about Africa. Not one day. So a day before the last day, and the last day of that lecture is going to retire. He's been there for 57 years. A day before the end of it, I raised my hand. And I said, Dean Jacob, you have not said anything about Africa. He said, Peter, do you want to know about Africa? I said, yes. I paid $40,000 for this. And you have not spoken about my continent. So what am I doing here? He said, tomorrow I'll tell you about Africa. So the next day, he finished and looked at me and said, do you want to know about Africa? I said, yes. He said, there's nothing called African economy.
Controversial.
I said, have I seen a vehicle called African spec? Now we have American spec, Gulf spec, Asian spec, European spec. Have I ever seen African spec? I said, no. He said, in your country, do you have 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan? He said, maybe, I think so. I haven't seen one, but I believe there will be somewhere. But I told him, I said, I think so. He said, join me for lunch. So I joined Donald Jacob for lunch. If you know Kellogg very well, it's on bank of Lake Michigan. So after having lunch, we had lunch, he said, let's take a walk by the lake. As we were taking a walk, he asked me, do you have any of your country's currency? I said, yes. That time, the biggest denomination in Nigeria was 100 naira. So I brought 100 naira out. And he brought $100. And he said to me, which of these two currencies do you prefer? And I said, the dollar. He said, why? I said, because it's 100 to 1. 100 naira to $1. So he asked me to keep the dollar. So I kept the dollar. So I've got $10,000 as against 100 naira. So I kept his dollars, and we walked like another about 100 kilometers again. And he said, Peter, he stopped again and said, I should bring out the $100. Of course, I was imagining, because I've already assumed I've gained this money. I hope he's not going to take it back. And I brought it out again, hesitantly, that I don't want to lose it, because for me, it's already home. So I brought it out again. He brought out my 100 naira, and he said to me, Peter, which of these two currencies do you prefer? And again I said, $100. Why? I gave him the same answer. He said, let's sit down. There was like a bench by the lake. He said, let's sit down there. So we sat down, and he looked at me and said, Peter, let me tell you, young man, the only reason why you prefer another country's currency to your currency is the amount of faith you have in your country. You don't have faith in your country. Economy is driven by faith. And you can only have faith in your country if there's a hope. I have taught in this school for 50-something years. There's no country that doesn't have a problem. Chinese people keep their money in Chinese yuan. Singapore in Singaporean dollar. Malaysians in ringgits. And he went around. Then there was no euro. So the Italians in Italian lira. Germans in
marks.
dogs. German in Brit, UK in pounds. Nobody wants to keep his money. But because you don't have faith in your country, you prefer another country's currency, making it stronger and better. Can I ask you for a favor? I've been interacting with you for the past 3 months. You've always been asking one question or the other. Because there's no day I come to class, I was ready to cover the money I paid. So I make sure I ask questions, because I don't want to go back and miss anything.
Get all the tuition worth.
Yes, I want to know. So I said, he said, you've always asked questions, you've always wanted to know. but today, can I ask you for a favor? I said, okay. He said, go back to your country and participate in building public wealth. Public wealth enriches everybody. Individual wealth impoverishes everybody. You should serve in the public space. That's where you belong. I know you're chairman of a bank, you're this. So if I tell you what I'm saying now, it'll be difficult for you. But you've told me you've reached certain, you've done well for yourself. You can afford to pay for your food. Just go and serve. And that was the last time we spoke, until I met him after being governor.
Oh, wow.
Because I had to come and report to him what happened to me.
Gave him a status update.
Anyway, I went back and something happened. Everybody that know my state or knew what happened in my state then know that schools were closed for 2 years. Children didn't go to school. So I went back with that at the back of my mind. I arrived at my house one day and said to my wife, I'm going to be governor of my state. And it was like Steve Jobs asking John Scully to come and stop selling sugared water. She was like, where are you coming from? You have not voted. You don't have anything. Where are you going? What are you talking? I said, I'm going to be governor of my state. I want to go home and campaign to be governor. I can't continue doing this when the system is collapsing. These children are not in school for 2 years. So I decided to get involved. That's the beginning of my politics. That's why I said until it was changed from that day. So that was my experience. And probably that's what I'm inviting most of you to go and do.
Thank you so much for that. I heard that story and I thought it was appropriate to share it with the people in this room. They're absolutely all about Africa now and definitely about the next.
Mr. Peter Obi seems to be very passionate about the country. What do you think? Let us hear what you think or what you have to say in the comment section. Thank you.